Hey, manufacturers, I am so excited that you chose to check out this podcast. This is a manufacturing intelligence podcast where we talk about leading people in production. And this is the inaugural episode, and I am just thrilled to bring it to you. For this initial episode, I decided who better to bring into the conversation than Katherine O'Toole. She's the executive director for the National Tooling and Machining Association of the Kansas City chapter. And Katherine is just high energy, passionate about what we're doing, and she has really been building this network in a powerful way. And it's such an honor for me to be partnering with the network and providing this podcast. So pay attention to Katherine's passion, her energy, and her desire to really invest in this community, not only for today, but for future generations. And here's some of the ways that she's innovating in building bridges in the education space among women in the industry and among businesses in the industry. Check this out. You will thoroughly enjoy Katherine's vision for the organization and her love for the industry. And if you are watching this on YouTube and you want to listen to it on podcast, feel free to go to your favorite podcast source and look us up there. If you're watching this or listening to this and you want to see Katherine and I interact in this video, you can watch it on their YouTube channel. So thanks so much for joining us. Enjoy this episode, and let's continue to build manufacturing in Kansas City. Hey everyone, it is an exciting thing for me to just invite you or welcome you to the Manufacturing Intelligence Podcast. And we are just really excited for this conversation about talking about leading people in production. And this is our inaugural episode, and it's in partnership with the NTMA of Kansas City. And we have a great partnership, and I'm really excited about where this is going. And this kind of came out of the vision that we had for what can we do to serve the NTMA community, as well as just using some of the things that I have to bring to the table through being a coach and a consultant and stuff. And so we partnered together to do this. And I thought it would be a wonderful way to kick things off by having the executive director of not only the National Tooling and Machining Association of Kansas City chapter, as well as the BOTS KC executive director. I'm going to welcome Katherine O'Toole. Katherine, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining me. I know that you are a busy woman these days. You're juggling a lot of things and you're doing some amazing things. So let's just start by helping people understand the roles you play. You work with both NTMA of Kansas City chapter or Kansas City chapter of NTMA and then BOTS KC. Tell me a little bit about both of those organizations.
Okay. Well, these are both not-for-profit associations. With the NTMA, I would say our primary goals or focuses kind of center around networking and workforce development, and then also some advocacy there at the national level. And my role with BOTS KC ties right on in, very mutual synergies as far as workforce development goes. So that program is about exposing young adults, teenagers, high school students, to all of the viable careers in manufacturing through designing, engineering, and then building and competing BattleBots. So I am working very hard to partner. We have 30 schools or teams participating this year with some of our local shops. And we have, I believe, just at a half dozen of our local members supporting BOTS KC and helping mentor a team this year.
So there's some great synergy between the two organizations.
Absolutely.
And some of that aligns really well with just who you are. You've got a background in education, is that correct?
Yep, that is true. I was an elementary teacher for over a decade.
All right. So tell me about that journey that you went on to go from elementary education into executive director of a manufacturing association. Tell me a little bit about how you found this in your current reality.
Well, my dad owned a tool and die shop in Tool. So I grew up helping him not only in the office, but also in his shop. So I would say I definitely preferred working in the shop than doing paper filing, which was the go-to method at that time. So kind of grew up in and around industry. It was always a favorite for me when my dad sold scrap because he had some cash and I might be able to get some of that to do something fun. But I feel like just through that experience and my dad's actual involvement with NTMA, my name was put out there for this role of executive director. I had been approached once about filling the position, and timing wasn't just right. I had left teaching at the time it was right. I was working in a construction office, and I had been there for about 3 years. That's where I really had my first go around with business. And, it seemed like a good fit. Accepted the position, and man, it's really grown now from what was definitely a part-time job to something that is definitely on the side of full-time plus now with all of the different initiatives we have going on.
Yeah. So listen, you and I are connected on LinkedIn, and
Mhm.
I see you having coffee with industry leaders
Mhm.
left and right on LinkedIn, and I see you visiting this school and that company and having board meetings and stuff. So you're kind of all over the place, and I think
Yeah.
that's just how you're wired. You're a go-getter. You get things done. But tell me, why are you meeting with school district leaders, and why are you
Mhm.
meeting with business owners? What's the ask of people that you're meeting with at any given appointment?
Well, I'll answer first what I feel like my main role is, and then I'll get to that ask because I think that
Yeah.
is really important. I feel like I'm a connector, so I feel like it is my job to connect students, teachers from the career tech ed programs to our shops to provide them some knowledge, some exposure about manufacturing. And what I have found is that as a teacher, I know the many hats that these individuals are wearing, but not often do they have personal experience with tooling, machining, or really always manufacturing, kind of depending on the school and the programs available. But it's very limited. So I think that it is so important for us to fill the workforce pipeline, to bring people into the workforce pipeline. They have to know what jobs are available. Parents have to know the viable career options. They're not going to be able to support it otherwise. And teachers can't advise something that they know nothing about. So my ask, I guess, would be, we all recognize that workforce development is a problem. It's been a focus of our association all year, but what are you really doing to be a part of that solution? Are you serving as a mentor for a BOTS KC team? Are you hosting groups of youth through your shop? Field trips or even externships for adults in the community? Are you involved on an advisory board where you can provide your opinion to the teachers that really need it as far as what is important to industry? Where are the gaps when students transition, from school to workforce? There's just a lot of practical ways that individuals can become involved. And all you have to do is ask me because I will help
Yeah.
you find the way. I
Well,
post about them a lot. I email about them a lot. And again, as that connector, that's why I'm meeting with all of these individuals because they really do go together.
so really, your heart for education and your natural ability to connect kind of drives how you lead the organization because you can connect existing entity with people
Mhm.
raising up new workforce people and bring them together. Is that a fair way of saying that?
Well, sure. Yes. And absolutely. I would say all of our members, they want to do more business, right? They want to be able to fulfill more orders. They want to be able to grow. And they can't do that without more employees. And we are seeing a large number of individuals aging out of the workforce. Who's going to fill these positions so that you can do more business, right? And I
Yeah.
think it's been incredibly important. And the more business we do, the more business we drive into Kansas City, the more known we become as a manufacturing hub. So it's all very cyclical.
So there's a few ways that I want to go out of that. I want to, first of all, just explore this idea with you because I find it fascinating. You talk about being a connector.
Mhm.
One of the companies, one of my clients is an NTMA member,
Mhm.
and one of their individuals just said, "Hey, Ryan, I need you to connect with Catherine." And
Mhm.
he actually connected us and invited you and I to meet up for lunch, and we got to know each other. I got to understand more of your story. And then from there, you immediately said, "Hey, I've got a meeting with this person. Would you like to come meet with me there?"
Mhm.
And connected there. Um, let's talk to your existing members for a moment.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
how can they be voices to help other industry leaders be a part of NTMA? What can they do to connect you with some of their colleagues who may not have chosen to be a part of this community yet?
Well, I think that's what I spent a lot of this year working on was creating events that members want to attend. So it took a great deal of time just getting out into shops, getting to know my members, and not just an owner or president, but trying to get into multiple layers of who exists and help support the daily operations of a shop. But number one, we had to get people to come to events.
Yeah.
Number two, we had to get people to talk about those events and why they were meaningful, and then invite others. So very often that was a question I asked my board, who are you doing business with that is great to work with? I would love to meet them. I would love to know about why they are successful. And who are you not doing business with that you would like to, that we could draw into our network and let them know all of the opportunities there are, to partner with other machine shops, tooling, facilities, fabricators just here locally.
Outstanding. So 2 questions to follow up on that conversation. Number one, I want you to talk about the events, and then I'm going to follow up after you talk about some of the events that you have. I'm going to talk a little bit about why someone would come to those events. We'll break that open. But first, tell me about your shop visits, your speed networking, some of those types of events that you have.
Okay. Well, yeah, I would say, it's a hard job making people happy, Ryan, especially when people want events in the morning. People want events over lunch. People only want to come to events after hours. People prefer a Friday. People don't like a Friday because that cuts too close to family time. Nobody wants a Monday, but sometimes there's, availability on a Monday. It is really hard. So, trying to offer things at a variety of locations, both on the Kansas side and the Missouri side, different times of day. Maybe there's lunch, maybe it's a happy hour. We tried a family event. We had a Mavericks hockey night this year. I would say the greatest challenge for me is thinking about things that gentlemen would like to attend. At this point of time, we have a very male-dominated population within the Kansas City chapter of the NTMA. But with SheLeads, we're working on that. But trying to think of things that sound fun, sound unique. I get great suggestions from associate members. Jarbo sponsored a night at the Foaling Warehouse. Again, thankful to Federated Insurance for their sponsorship, not only of the hockey night, but stand-up shuffleboard at the Made in KC location. Yeah. And then, of course, all of our shops that open their doors for shop tours. I know that's difficult because essentially you're welcoming your competitors to come right on into your shop, look at your processes, maybe even get a sneak peek of who you're sending things to or who you're making something for, what's coming through your line, But I think that the members that have done it do so with a greater vision of, we are so proud of what we do. We know we make our customers happy. We'd love to showcase our processes because we've worked hard to establish them, and we want to do more business. So everybody come check out what we're doing. And I would say those shop tours are member favorites, definitely.
In people, there's this scarcity mindset that a lot of people have. Like, man, why would I want to sit at the table with a competitor? Why would I let someone else see my shop and stuff? You kind of hinted on that. And, that's an interesting conversation that we're having. And honestly, if we're scarcity mindset oriented as a shop owner, this may not be the organization for you, although we'd love to have you experience and break down some of those assumptions. But I think that a lot of that scarcity mindset, what people don't understand is the opportunity that's created in the mindset. Because when you collectively unite to bring people together for initiatives like advocacy, raising up workforce, and having conversations about, man, I keep having employee turnover, and all of a sudden you're sitting across the table with someone who's dealt with a similar thing, but they're a couple years ahead in the process from where you're at. They've unlocked something. All of a sudden you're having conversations that are more meaningful at the table. And it's not that you're talking to a competitor, you're talking to a peer. You're talking to someone who has often empathy for your journey, and you're finding solutions for your own situations that are really important to dialogue. Would you add anything to that?
I would say just that. Absolutely. Yes. You could see by my repeated nods there that I do agree with what you're saying. But that everybody, I would say that I interact with, has found success in their own regard. And not everybody shares the same strengths. And boy, I know from experience, it takes humility to say, this is my area of weakness and I could use some help. That's hard to do. But I think as a network, when members come and network, when they build those relationships, doing some fun things, they get to know one another, right? Then they start to identify who leaders are within our area. You go on a shop tour and you see what somebody specializes in or what their niche is. And then that genuine relationship can really be utilized to solve some real life business issues or problems.
We get so siloed when we're in an industry. We just know how our company does it and how we're going to approach things. And we might listen to a podcast or two, but it's a whole different thing to sit and talk with someone who can actually talk about how they turned the page. It's
Right.
not just they told you the success story, but you didn't get to hear about the struggle along the way to the success. You actually get to go back and forth with something and with someone locally in your market. And I think that there's a lot of incredible value to that for our community and for shop owners. I actually do something through Circle of Five where we have a free monthly peer advisory group where I invite people to come and I'll share a little bit of leadership content, and then we'll have some open dialogue. And ultimately we wrap up the session with what we call the hot seat, where one person can just, maybe a couple people can share some of the dynamics they're dealing with. And we have this open dialogue about, hey, here are some questions to consider. And have you done this? And what was going on in your mind through that process? How did you take care of yourself? And what I have found is the community is so passionate about their people. And once one person is just willing to say, I need help, everyone else just seems to kind of fall in and just say, you know what, I want to be a part of that solution. And I've got something I'd like to share too. And it's neat when you're among peers. And so many industries have professional associations that they identify with, and they're all a part of this association. But sometimes tooling and machining organizations get really siloed, like we can't interact with anyone else. But I think one other thing I'd say, it's not unusual for someone to pull out a phone and say, hey, I have a job I'm needing done. Would you be willing to give me a quote? And people are meeting professionals because maybe their plate's too full in this season, or they need a specialty thing that your shop can do. And people
or something happens and a machine goes down. I'd say that's pretty a common occurrence as well. And they still need to get orders out.
Or you lost some talent.
Yeah.
Yep. And you've got to get this machining done, and you don't have a guy who can do it that was able to do it 6 months ago. And yeah, you collaborate in that regard. I love it. And it's been fascinating for me just in the time that I've been associated with NTMA, just to see the collectivism of that, where we're trying to help one another be successful. Super cool stuff. So thank you for your leadership in that. And I think that your disposition is becoming the personality of the community, meaning that people are more connectors now than just coming and sitting in silence. And so if you're a person that you're like, man, that's too much peopling. All right. I don't know if I can handle that much peopling. I want to encourage people, come on out and check out an upcoming event. And people aren't going to ask you your social security number, and they're not going to go real deep and personal if you're not wanting to go there.
They might be ITAR, certified, so you might have to show an ID, but that's probably about it.
There might be certain credentials required, but yeah. So let me ask you this: where one of the things that we hear over and over again is the employment issue is a crisis. We go back to just less than 10 years ago, the birth rate started getting lower than the death rates, and we weren't replacing people in the job market for the years to come. And then we've got financial issues, and we've got people that seem to not want to go to work as much as they had in the past. So every industry is struggling with staffing, and you have talked about that's one of your initiatives, is to raise up young people to come into this industry. I'd love your insights on where the industry needs to invest in order to either retain talent, because I think there's some people that are getting out of the industry, or to recruit new talent. Just a few thoughts on that, if you don't mind.
Sure. I mean, I think honestly, we can invest anywhere, in any age, and yes, we have focused a lot on the career tech ed programs, just because I know that they have very similar goals for their students who are workforce bound, seeing them placed in careers with opportunities for growth. And I'm going to be honest, that was an easy transition for me. I still think like a teacher. So as I took on this role, that was kind of a first step. But, we could be looking at those that have completed a career in the military and they're coming back to civilian life. We explored what it is like to to work with individuals who are coming out of incarceration, second chance employment. I think we could focus there. I think seeking to empower and educate females and draw them into our workforce, our minority population as well, throughout Kansas City. I think that there are a large number of groups that want to come and work, and even our young adults, and I think sometimes their mindset is just a little bit different, and it's not that they aren't motivated and don't want the job. We just need to reach them where they're at. And I think that is something that as business owners, decision makers, we've talked about overcoming. We all kind of scoff at the way our young adults behave or the things that they're requiring or seeking, but ultimately the bottom line, it is what it is. And we've got to change how we are doing things to meet people where they're at, age, experience, whatever that may be.
And you kind of lead into one of my passion points on this, Katherine, and I'll be very brief on this, but I think we need to invest in a better way in our middle level leaders, because those are the people that manage the people that are coming in. And if they are all about me and what I want and that type of thing, instead of about the organization, how do we collectively accomplish something as a team? The majority of people leave their jobs because they hate their supervisor. And if we can invest more intentionally in shaping our mid-level leaders, I think we're going to improve our retention rate, because people are going to feel valued and heard and part of a team rather than just controlled by a boss. And I think we can strategically improve in that regard as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's something we're discussing with SheLead this coming week, and looking at how you can define status to create positive power in influence.
Yeah, tell me more about SheLead.
Okay.
Excuse me.
SheLeads Women Driving Manufacturing is an initiative that we just started, really. When we look at the greatest minority in manufacturing, very often it's females. And I'm sure that anyone listening could probably attest to that, as they think, not even necessarily about their office staff, but out onto the shop floor, right? So this group is for anybody that works in and around manufacturing. Again, we want to retain top female talent, and we would love ladies in manufacturing to be able to do all of the things that our owners and decision makers are at our events. Have a professional network to seek advice from, to seek just mentorship, guidance, that type of thing. But it's been great so far. We're excited. We have a great speaker coming up next week. Lindsay Howerton is going to speak to us on positive mindset.
That's awesome. Hey, so this has been great. Thank you for introducing us more to NTMA. I want to respect your time, but I want to do what I call rapid feed round, all right? Where I'm just going to feed you a few questions, and you just give me your first response. And have
just one word? It's a one-word response?
You can give one sentence. I won't hold you to one word. All right?
Okay.
Question number one. If you go to a Chiefs football game with any famous person, who would you go with?
Oh gosh, that's a tough one. I'm not good at famous people.
Famous to you. It doesn't have to matter to anybody else.
Ryan, I didn't know you were going to stump me here. Okay, come back to that one.
All right, you can do that. What do you think the greatest threat to manufacturing is right now?
Failure to accept technology.
Okay, I love it. What's one tool in your leadership tool belt you couldn't live without?
One tool in my leadership tool. An ability to listen.
I love that. That is a great tool.
I feel like I'm pausing too long. This is not rapid fire.
No, you're doing great. This is awesome. Let's see. Are you a coffee, energy drink, or something else to get going after that early morning?
Oh, I'm a multiple beverage person. I love all the drinks. So yes,
no
coffee,
discrimination, huh?
Iced tea, Diet Coke, Diet Pepsi, water, flavored water, you name it. I probably got it out around me at some point of the day.
I love it. So last question before we come back to the Chiefs question. If you could master any skill instantly, what would you choose?
To think before I speak. Always.
You did great right there. That's awesome. I love it. And now we'll go back to if you could go to the Chiefs football game with a famous person, who would you want to go to it with?
Well, I guess I'm gonna have to say Taylor Swift so I can live the sweet life and,
There,
get a behind the scenes tour of the stadium. So, not
there
that
you
I'm a
go.
Swiftie by any means, but that's the best answer I have.
I love it. I love it. Hey, before we wrap up, I'm curious, is there any question that you wished I would have asked you? Anything that you'd wanted to talk about that we didn't get to yet?
Hmm. What has went well for me this year with NTMA, maybe?
Yeah, I'd love to hear that. So I'm going to ask,
Okay.
what's gone well for you at
I would
KCMTME?
say building relationships with owners and decision makers and kind of establishing my role as an association leader. I think that was difficult at first to be seen as credible and be seen as someone that does things with a purpose. And I think that the bigger picture is unfolding, and I think that others share my vision. I think I've been able to communicate it, and I think that has brought me a lot of personal just feelings of success.
You know what? One other thing I want to mention, just because I've learned some of your journey, how important is a great board to a great nonprofit organization?
Oh, it is absolutely essential. Yes. And I'm very thankful to the board of directors that I have worked with this year and very excited to welcome 6 new members this coming year to that board. So, yeah.
Outstanding. Hey, you've done some amazing stuff, and I'm thankful for the collaboration that Circle of Five has been able
Yeah.
to develop with KCNTMA. If someone wants to check out your resources, kcntma.org. And if
Mhm.
they want to check out any of my resources, circleof5coaching.com. And anything as we wrap up, what's the most important thing you want to leave people with? Something we've already discussed, maybe you haven't said it yet, but
Mhm.
what would you just like to reinforce as we say goodbye to our audience today?
Most often, that I would say success is not found in isolation. It's found within a community, and you're always going to have a greater ability to tackle problems with a group approach, right? And I just want to invite anybody that's listening to find a group, to find an association, regardless of what your industry might be. But at KCNTMA, we would love to welcome like-minded professionals who want to work together.
Outstanding. Hey, you've been awesome. Thanks for giving up some time today, and thanks for all you
Ryan,
do
thanks
with
for having
KC.
me. Yes, I cannot wait to hear the other leaders and who they're bringing to the Chiefs game.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, Catherine.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.
There you have it. That was Catherine. She did a phenomenal job. Like I said, she is full of energy, full of passion. If you're interested in learning more about KCNTMA, go to kcntma.org and you can check out what services they provide. And Catherine would love to connect. You heard her talking. She would love to meet up with you, learn about where you're going, and see if there's some potential for collaboration there. If you'd like to learn more about what Circle of Five coaching can do for your organization, whether it's develop your leadership team, invest in your mid-level leaders, train up your new supervisor level leaders so that they understand the people side of production, let's connect. Feel free to reach out to me at circleof5coaching.com. Would be glad to connect. But thanks for checking out this episode. Be sure to check out the next episode where I interview Fred from Ultratech Aerospace, and you're going to enjoy his conversation as well.